the day is, of course, none other than our favorite ESPN commentator, TV doctor, whatever you want to call him. Stephen A. Smith is in the news because he is charging for a basketball camp at IMG Academy for the low price of basically $3,000. We all know, and then of course this is from Uprock, so they have their own spin and narratives to this, but every summer, dozens of NBA players hold their basketball camps across the country that allows kids to hear from their favorite players, learn some new basketball skills, and maybe even go one-on-one in a drill against an NBA star. However, this summer will be a new basketball camp being offered at IMG in Florida, where obviously the WNBA bubble took place there. A lot of famous high school athletes have played at IMG Academy. And it looks like there are going to be a new basketball camp hosted by none other than Stephen A. Smith from August 6th through the 12th, and is going to cost that athlete, whoever goes to that, about $3,000. You may be asking, why would anyone send their child to a week-long basketball camp run by Stephen A. Smith for nearly $3,000? I'm asking the very same question. So unfortunately, I did not have a good answer for you, but here's the description of the IMG Academy website. So we'll just read the description of it, and then we'll kind of get my opinions on it, because me and my boys in the group chat that we were just laughing our butts off about this. So IMG Academy is getting loud and providing a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for young athletes with its Stephen A. Smith basketball camp at IMG Academy taking place August 6th to the 12th. As per the camp package, Smith will participate in several engaging opportunities with camp participants, including sharing an inspiring message to the young athletes and hosting a Q&A format discussion. All camp participants will receive exclusive branded Stephen A. Smith basketball camp at IMG apparel to wear for the week of the camp. Stephen A. is a featured commentator and executive producer on ESPN's First Take, analyst on NBA Countdown, and a host of Known Mercy Stephen A. Smith podcast. So, here is my opinion about this. This, to me, it's clearly a cash grab by IMG. I think they struggled to get guys to come back to their academy. I don't know what it is, but you're telling me out of all the... And I really want to look this up, so I do apologize that I don't have this information in advance. Players that played basketball at IMG. And we can kind of look at some notable alumni from there. Let's see here. Here we go. We have Braden Atkin, Logan Allen, a lot of baseball guys. Let's see basketball. Here we go. Basketball. We have Ronaldo Bachman, Dwayne Bacon, Michael Beasley, Barama, Bradley, Earl Clark, Eric Dampier, DeAndre Daniels, Trevon Duvall, Zach Edey, Torian Green, Jonathan Isaac, Kennedy Kaji, Kenny Martin Jr., and a bunch of other guys, Anthony Simons, like a bunch of guys, Josh Green, Jaden Springer, Romello White. Again, a bunch of guys that have gone to IMG Academy, and the best that they could come up with, guys, is this, let's see here. Let me see if I can see that live chat. Do apologize. I'm not sure where this, this might be on, is this on YouTube? Or on Twitter? I did see that comment. Yeah, they did get, they got killed. And we'll talk about that when we get to that part of the video, so really stay tuned for that part. But kind of going back to the Stephen A. Smith stuff, to me, the frustrating thing about this whole situation is, Stephen A. Smith, like, I don't care about your basketball background. I don't care about any of this stuff. But the fact that you haven't hosted, I would say personally, a basketball camp where you're going to the local levels, maybe where you grew up from, maybe the surrounding area of ESPN. Like, you're not going to those small communities and doing that. The first camp and opportunity that you go to is Stephen A. Smith Academy. Or, sorry, IMG Academy. Not Stephen A. Smith, but IMG Academy, which to me, what it kind of tells me is that you're not taking this stuff serious at all. You're just putting your brand next to a basketball camp and saying, "Hey, Stephen A. Smith," because again, to me, Stephen A. Smith is going, and again, this is just what it continues on from the topic that I talked about a little bit ago last week, which was the ESPN trying to find new ways to get new revenue and stuff like that. This is what we call the content creator method right here, because we've seen people like Logan Paul, Jake Paul, and many other people that have gone the avenue that Stephen A. Smith has gone, just from a YouTuber perspective, right? We talk about those guys, like I said, Logan Paul, Jake Paul. Those guys are primarily on uh boxing. They're doing prime drinks, like all this other stuff, creating this different product. To me, this is the same exact thing that Stephen A. Smith is doing, except he's just doing it now in a way that is really, I would say, cheating somebody out of an experience, because we know that Stephen A. Smith is corporate. We know that Stephen A. Smith is not organic, in a sense that he's not someone that came from the YouTube ranks and then got to the popularity. He was already popular, had a very popular show with Skip Bayless. And to me, like when I see that stuff and when things like that are going down, not saying that Stephen A. Smith can't have a basketball camp, because hey, I've worked at a basketball camp before. Like they're tough, and whether it's kids from kindergarten to fifth grade, whether it's from fifth grade all the way to eighth grade, high school. When you are going to IMG, like when you think about IMG Academy, you're thinking about the best of the best, the pristine, the way that these academies have, and really, I really think that these academies are just scams, in my opinion. I think you could get exposure from wherever you are, even your AU team. But IMG Academy is supposed to be this illustrious facility where all the athletes go because you're a special talent. That's where the special talent goes. But adding Stephen A. Smith, I feel like diminishes or tarnishes your brand. I mean, why would you want to even be associated with Stephen A. Smith, in a sense that he's not really a basketball coach, and he's also not someone that teaches the game of basketball. He talks about it, whether you agree with his opinions or not. He's someone that talks about basketball, but he's not someone that participates in the basketball community. Like he's a guy that participates in the conversation of it. Doesn't participate by going to the local youth levels, going to these other places to really teach the youth about the game. It's more about for Stephen A. Smith, it's more about, hey, how can I make a quick buck by adding my brand and likeness to it? It's to me, and I hate it when the YouTubers do it, but it's basically just YouTube. Like to me, like Stephen A. Smith is a YouTuber. He's a content creator trying to garner your attention, trying to garner your money by slapping his branding all over it and saying, "Hey, this is a basketball camp." Like I'm very excited. Like, is Stephen A. Smith going to be leading basketball drills throughout this whole thing? Probably not. They're probably not going to lead basketball drills for Stephen A. Smith. And I am very disappointed in IMG Academy, not the fact that they got Stephen A. Smith. Like, hell, if you want to get Stephen A. Smith to do a journalism class, or you want to say, like, hey, this is how you market your likeness, or a marketing class, I will be okay with Stephen A. Smith doing that. But a basketball camp where, he hasn't played basketball in many, many years, professionally or collegiately, is someone that just talks about the game, doesn't coach it, doesn't know the X's and O's, like a guy like JJ Redick or any of his other contemporaries on ESPN themselves. Kendrick Perkins being the number one guy, which, I think it's him and Perkins and Richardson to me, those three guys, and Legler. Like, those are four guys that I have above Stephen A. Smith when it comes to ball knowledge. And really someone, or those guys would be the guys that I would want teaching a basketball camp and having their likeness to it rather than Stephen A. Smith. And I get, again, I get it from Stephen A. Smith's perspective. It's a moneymaker. You're trying to make as much money as you can. I have no problem with it. But I just hate the scammingness and really what I feel like is a scam for the athletes that go to the school, for the athletes that want to go to this camp, because I don't think you have to be a student to go to this camp. But imagine the students that have to pay for that, or the kids that have to pay for that, and they're getting hoodwinked and bamboozled because Stephen A. Smith is someone popular on YouTube, someone that a lot of people talk about, and they're like, oh yeah, I like Stephen A. Smith, he's a good guy, or like in terms of, I love what he says on TV, but really, I just don't think that he should be teaching the game of basketball if he hasn't taught it before in terms of the last like 5 to 10 years. Like if he's hosting a basketball camp in the local areas and, teaching everybody the drills and stuff like that, I would be okay with it. But the fact that it's just Stephen A. Smith, probably going to be talking hyperbolic probably going to say his, famous quotes and his catchphrases and whatever and whatnot. I'm just not a big fan of it. And I'm not a big fan of it from anybody, whether it's KSI, whether it's Logan Paul, Jake Paul, any of these YouTubers that are trying to make a bang for their buck off of their likeness and content creatorness. I don't like the scammingness. I mean, I hope that a lot of people don't pay for this. I know that there's going to be some people that pay for it because they're going to think that Stephen A. Smith is going to, miraculously have their son or daughter shown to ESPNs and say, like, dang, this person can play basketball, or hey, this person's got a personality, let's try to sign him. But again, I would be more inclined to be okay with this if it was from a perspective of, okay, he's going to teach my kids how to market themselves. Like, hey, this is what you do to show your likeness, to show, what people think about you, and like how you can improve that type of social media and things like that. But at the end of the day, I am not a big fan of the situation going on at hand. It is not something that I would approve of, and I'm surprised that a lot of parents are even spending their money for this basketball camp. And again, for $3,000, that's a lot of money for a guy that hasn't played basketball since his college days, and for a guy that most likely, and I'm not even going to get into like, calling him out or stuff like that, because I was never that type of player either, so I'm not going to sit here and say you sucked as a player. But what I will say, and what I will, kind of give my credit to, is that I've worked these camps for the last 8 years now. I've done these camps. I've worked at them. I've done the background stuff as a coach. Like, I've been coaching for 7 years now. Like, that stuff to me gives me more credibility. And I don't even want to do like the fancy camps at all. Like, I like doing the camps that I'm in right now. I think those are a lot better anyway. But, I just don't appreciate Stephen A. Smith probably bamboozling and hoodwinking all these athletes who are trying to make it in the league, trying to make it where they're supposed to be. And I just think it's frustrating if you are an athlete or a parent and you spend all this money on your kids. Like, this is $3,000, right? We're not talking like $1,000. We're not even talking $200. We're talking $3,000. That's a chunk of change to invest into your kid. That's not related to their academics or anything like that. You're putting it to their sports. And it's not, a guaranteed AAU sports team. It's not a high school team or, any of these other sports. It's a freaking basketball camp for a week with Stephen A. Smith, where you'll get Stephen A. Smith, IMG Academy shorts and a t-shirt. And it's like, am I supposed to be excited about that? Not really. I'm surprised that parents are even paying for this. And if they are, I hope they ask for a refund, because, again, not hating on Stephen A. Smith, get your money, but don't scam these kids, man. I feel like it's just a big scam going on. It's some fraudulence in this area. You can smell the fraudulence from this whole basketball camp, and really shame on IMG Academy for doing this. I just think that they're probably, trying to find ways to make money. I know the economy's tough, but god dang it, man. Like, you cannot bamboozle and hoodwink these kids by having Stephen A. Smith as your main attraction, I would say main content creator at this camp. You're telling me that you couldn't get any of these other basketball. You couldn't even get Zach Edey. You couldn't get any of these other basketball IMG Academy guys. Michael Beasley. He was a really good, he was the number 2 pick. You couldn't get that guy to IMG Academy to do a camp. You got Stephen A. Smith. It's mind-boggling to me, the lack of awareness from some of these camps and some of these people that really shouldn't be in these positions in the first place. Because again, we're talking $3,000. We're not talking 200, 300, $400. We're talking $3,000. Again, that's someone's paycheck in a month in some of these places. And so if you're paying that much to go to a camp for Stephen A. Smith for just a week, you might need help. And I hope that your son or daughter is not at this camp. And go support your local coaches. Go support the coaches that are in the trenches, or the coaches that are in there in your communities putting in that work. Like, go to those camps. Those are the coaches that care about the community. Those are the coaches that I personally, as a coach myself, would love to see more of, is these kids going to the local camps to support their coaches that are trying to do the right thing for the community. There's a lot of them here in Seattle. I know Rainier Beach does one. Jamal Crawford is doing one. And I'm sure Garfield's doing like all these schools around the nation and around the Washington State area are doing great camps, and I'm sure there's other areas too. I'm sure Florida has some as well, but instead they're going to go to IMG Academy with Stephen A. Smith, and he's going to say something along the lines of stay off the weed and other kind of Dallas Cowboys, like any other catchphrase that Stephen A. Smith. It's going to be rinse and repeat, boring. And I hope that you're going to save your money and not go to this camp. But let me know in the comment section down below. Am I coming off across as a hater, or do you guys agree with me that this is just not the way that you should be doing it? Let me know in the comment section down below. I'd love to know what you guys think. And let me know if I'm right or wrong in the comment section down below.